right. Get ready, people. Hunker down. You got a warm beverage. You got a cozy blanket. You got co-workers looking over your shoulder. Whatever you got. We're about to get started. Mm-hmm.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, blah. I think he's a righteous dude.
One more second and we're ready to go. Why do you do that to me? Shut up. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, all right, here we go. Let's jump straight into this. All right, I don't know whether to feel like I should be 100% vindicated right out of the gate. Hi, I'm Hal Sparks. Welcome to Hal Sparks Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I'm Hal Sparks, and I will continue to Hal Sparks as long as anyone needs a Hal Sparks, which is apparently going to be for a very long fucking time. Because aside from being tired of being right and being like 98-2 so far, and largely having to do with factors outside of my control. One of the things that I've been, one of the points I've been making lately that people seem to be jumping on to the bandwagon for, and hello, chat room, I hope you guys are understanding. I feel like between our beloved Boston Brian and Tony Michaels and a few others that I've accidentally picked fights in some of these areas where we have a tactical disagreement on some things. And I don't know how else to say this to them other than I'm right. And eventually they will become to be aware of this. It does not mean that I want them to be any less fierce in what they are doing, but let's be clear. And what am I talking about? Well, this is, can I say, well, how would I define this? The messenger of this particular thing is particularly ironic, if I do say so my damn self, because there's this clip that came up. This is James Carville, Graham Carville. Carville slams Democrats for using idiotic NPR jargon after election loss. Now, I have talked to this about this for quite some time, even before the election, but especially afterwards. Which is this? Is my audio's a little bit better or not better? I don't know. I should be all right. That you can get trapped by jargon. You can spend so much time trying to convince the choir why they show up for choir practice that you're not actually speaking to the people you're trying to convert and convince. Yes. You understand? Oh, I'm not spilling tea about Boston Brian and Tony Michaels. That was on the air. I was, if you'll recall, when I was on Cliff Schecter's show with Tony the other day, and certainly, Boston Brian and I have gone back over this a couple of times on my show when he's been a guest. James got that, he talked about all this stuff and coming down here. I'm speaking as such, and he's, this like the Cajun Gator talk and blah blah blah. But and I haven't watched that. I haven't pre-watched this, but I know where he's going with this in theory. And let's just dip our toe into it, shall we? And I think we'll get to an important point. We may not even have to watch the whole thing.
Longtime Democratic strategist James.
So fucking Fox News. I don't know. They're using a clip off of MSNBC, right? Okay, yeah. So again, to Marianne Williamson and all her fellow dipshits, when they ask you to come on Fox or they play clips of you on Fox, it's because they're either inciting anger in their own people, which how dare they, or you're attacking the Democratic Party and they will just use it for their own purposes. Now, he's neither. He's talking on MSNBC, I think, in the clip that they play. He's not a guest on there per se, but we'll see.
Carville is raging against what he calls NPR language that members of his party use as he once again evaluates why Kamala Harris lost.
Is don't talk in that jargonistic language. If you remember during the 92 campaign when I said the economy's stupid, I was talking to all of the geniuses in the campaign.
You never use language other people don't immediately understand. It's like, because that shoestring won't catch the catfish, if you know what I mean. Never use language or colloquialisms that everybody doesn't understand, because that's like a tractor trying to, go shopping for a Christmas present on a Wednesday in the middle of November. It just does not work, So you have to use language that everyone can understand, even if they got shinola in their eyes and fits of torment in their ears that are derivatively removing anything that, making sure that... something about horse feathers.
Was telling them, who were all more educated and smarter than I was, don't be too smart here, okay? Let's just be authentic and to the point. So, and don't use that idiotic NPR jargon when you're talking to voters.
But those lessons are lost on some folks in liberal Hollywood. Bill Maher and actor John Cryer getting into a heated debate over how wokeness cost Democrats the election.
The trans people in my life feel at this point really frightened. Not only was, this election, was the outrage cycle of this particular election targeted them, but it was accepted. Politics,
well, another reason why the Democrats shouldn't have blown it.
Well, again, so you can blame them all you want. I believe again that there is a worldwide reaction to the inflation bump after COVID.
You keep telling yourself that, and you'll lose the next one, too.
A couple people trying to tell it like it is, Greg.
Well, it's interesting. Again.
Yeah. Stop trying to talk about inflation as a real thing when you should have just jettisoned trans people. As if you can't walk and chew gum at the same fucking time. We got to have people who can walk and dribble the ball and tie their shoes and play hockey on a Wednesday, even if it's a month of Sundays.
Trump effect. Suddenly it's okay to say what you think, see.
No. Hang out, fuckwad. First of all, you're the guy on this panel who's supposed to say what you think and be funny at the same time, which never fucking happens. Not once, not ever. And secondly, no, you don't get to... And by the way, you can say what you want. There's going to be consequences. It wasn't a landslide, motherfucker. And if somebody's like, Trump won, all you bitches go make me a sandwich at the office, you're going to get fired and fuck you.
Feel and not parrot what people told you. Both of these guys, Carville
I mean, like Make America Great Again, or that tariffs are a great way to fuck whatever.
and Maher, they did predict Trump would lose and Kamala would win. I believe they were saying what they were told as opposed to what they...
That's because you're fucking stupid. No, they went with what the trends looked like they were going for, that, they did not expect that the misogynistic response and the overt panic or the quite frankly just the numbing of voters would be so extreme. That was it. There's like 3 or 4 different factors. Again, death by 1,000 cuts. All of these people are going by what was the last slice that mattered. It doesn't fucking matter. And half the people, especially on the Democratic side, who are doing the, trying to decide which death by 1,000 cuts was the fatal one, what cut was the fatal one, all of them have razors in their fucking hands. So, like, eat shit.
Saw. They put too much faith in their political allies, even though it ran counter to their own common sense.
Like what? What do you mean? Too much faith in their political allies instead? So your allies are people of color and trans people or the LGBT community. That's what he means. And it runs against your common sense because your common sense tells you that, I don't know, men in women's bathrooms or something. That's where he's going.
It's kind of weird because you're seeing this everywhere. It's weird that the Rotherham mass rape story is now suddenly everywhere. It's been around for 10 years, but it's everywhere. It's almost as though people aren't scared anymore of talking about things.
Sorry, I don't know what he's referring to. If it's everywhere, it's not here.
Trump effect is simple: the freedom to believe what you see as opposed to what people tell you. No, a man cannot be a woman. Kamala Harris, not qualified.
So Caitlyn Jenner should go fuck herself and use the men's room when she's at Mar-a-Lago? And let me guess, Trump, when he sees Caitlyn Jenner, says, "Hey, dude, what's up?" Same thing with Blair White. Fuck Blair White. Why don't you have Blair White on and ask her? Now, she'll tell you she's a trans woman and not a woman, and these aren't distinctions. And most of this is linguistical distinction that, I think is a jargon problem more than anything. And again, not all females are women if woman means a standard to you, in the same way that Greg's not a man. See what I mean? If you have a standard for what it means to be a man, he can be male, he can be a biological adult male, and that could be your primary definition of a man. But if being a man means character, Greg's not a man. Now, that doesn't mean, ladies, that I'm putting him on you. It doesn't make him a woman either. See how that works? This is why the language shifted from sex to gender, and why they want to switch it back, why it flips back and forth. When people are talking about gender, which is it seemed as an expression of your sexual, your birth sex, or lack of expression of that birth sex, however you want to word it, because again, who cares? What they want to do is bounce it back to, you can't change your chromosomes. Like, that's not the fucking point. That's not what folks are doing.
Qualified to run. Biden cognitively a wreck. Streets aren't safe. The border's a security threat. Before, if you said that, the media would have done something to you. They would have put you in the...
Nobody ever said the border wasn't a security threat. As a matter of fact, the border, that we have a border patrol. It gets its budget increased every year by Democrats and Republicans. The border isn't the part. Now, again, this is straw manning of the argument. The argument is not whether the border should be managed properly or whether there should be legal standards for what it means to be a citizen or not a citizen, or what the process it should be for asylum or any of that shit. The question, and it became that, and it shouldn't have. The question is, Trump is ineffective at his job, a complete fuckhead, and should be nowhere near the levers of power because he's an immoral punk. And a pig.
Pro-Trump camp. And that was really scary for people, especially celebrities. So that fear no longer carries weight because who's been proven right? And now people are saying things that they normally wouldn't have said. By the way, James Carville.
By the way, for the record, he's probably referencing Chunk and Anna, right? When he's saying people are saying what they normally wouldn't have said. And he's certainly not talking about the clip that they played of John. And John's great, by the way. I don't really know John except online. I don't even know that we've met in passing. I mean, we both share the burden of having worked with Ashton at one point. So, we're kind of brothers in that regard. We have the long stare of that experience. But he a lot more than I. But John's a good dude. It seems a good human who cares quite a bit. And again, this is just from a distance, but that seems to be the case. And John's not changing his tone or what he said or anything about his ethics or his belief after this. He's stuck to his guns. He's not bending. He's got complaints, I would say, about the language. And again, the jargon trap and the fact that the Republicans were able to vilify trans people and ignore the fact that Mars on board with it. Here's the problem. Maher has a show on Friday that drifts the political discussion, whether he wants to or not, or whether he plays it being an independent or not, absolutely tailors it, bonsais, it cuts off limbs of the conversation about stuff, right? And he knows this, so the idea is like, well, just tell him that, you'll lose next time. No, motherfucker. You're allegedly doing a news roundtable comedy show, which is very heavy on issues. If there's a disconnect between what the public thinks and reality, you're part of the fucking problem then. Don't lay it off on John because of his fucking tweets / blue sky posts. When you've got a show every Friday night that determines a lot of the tone of the conversation.
Bill looks like a
whether you've earned it or not, by the way.
turtle that left his shell somewhere in the beach.
He's out there, and Harold, James Carville has said things similar to you. You say them more elegantly.
No,
but
he says it more effectively.
He's saying, well, I don't know if that's true because they didn't listen to him, and that was actually going to be my question: are the Democrats listening to him now?
No, they're listening to me now. I just don't say it because I don't need it. Listen, if you're going to try and put a tiara on a crocodile and call it your prom date, you're probably going to end up with more than a hickey. And I've said this for several years now. And these are things I learned from having a wife that's half crocodile and half armadillo, which we call possum on the half shell around here.
Well, I think Bill Maher, I hope so. I think Bill Maher said it best to I think that's his pal on a YouTube show with him.
His pal?
You're going to lose again. If you don't listen to this, I mean, again, the win here this time for Republicans, the House, the Senate, the White House, was pretty major. You think about 1980, the wins that Republicans had then, even with Reagan, that win there, they didn't keep the both chambers. This win here was significant because the cultural issues were really.
Yeah, there also wasn't as divided. The chambers weren't as divided. There were more gray area Republicans and Democrats. The complexity caucus in the House and the Senate was much broader in 1980 than it is now. The complexity caucus has like 4 fuckers in it. To my mind, they need to form a complexity caucus. Just lean into it. Democrats, even find some Republicans who don't like Mike Johnson's fucking porn bullshit and Trump's pussy grabbing nonsense and his idiotic tax plan, and just be part of it. Look, there's a lot to be worked out here. We'll be on committee because we're not afraid of the complexities of the issues. We don't have to walk around with crayons and hammers going bong, deek, it's fixed. I fixed it.
Important, and Democrats didn't want to acknowledge it. That doesn't mean that we're wrong on them. It means that we got to listen to voters. I said yesterday when we were talking about.
Well, again, they're not even talking about listening to voters, dummy. What does that mean? What does that mean? All the voters in the country? You're going to listen to all of them? You're going to listen to ones on the MAGA side that, think that everybody brown should be put on a boat, sent back home? You going to listen to them? What do you expect to hear? The problem isn't that you're listening to voters. It's that you're only listening to the loudest, most specific, most activist voters, because that's who controls primaries in a lot of ways. The machine has taken over in that regard, and it's not some group of elites. It's a fear matrix that was created that Democrats are scared of who will undermine them. And guess what? The uncommitted motherfuckers and the allegedly pro-Palestinian Muslims that lean that way in Michigan are a prime example. Voted against terrorists, voted for Trump. What the fuck did they think Trump's going to do to Gaza? But we listened to them. I don't know what to tell you. They did all kinds of placative stuff or whatever, and to gain this small group of people who are so out of their fucking minds, they would stand down or vote for Trump in this circumstance when they know he's going to level the fucking place, and lose other voters who think you're insignificant, insufficiently supportive of Israel or just can't tell the difference between an aggressive attack and, you understood it when Russia attacked Ukraine. You don't understand it when Hamas attacks Israel. If you're catering to those voters, They're fucking spun. And if you're afraid to piss those voters off because you're, oh my God, if I lose them, I lose this margin, then you have to understand there is a giant margin of people that you're willing to part with. And that's where we get to the 85-15 voting thing. And I'm sure we'll cover more of this.
The fellow at the MTA who seems like a nice guy and a well-intentioned guy, but you can't tell people about the subways and say that